Surprise, surprise. Can you believe it? Another tragedy in an amusement park in Mexico? Surprise, surprise. Welcome to Horror Funktown, where we dive into the most chilling tales from the amusement park world. Today we explore a tragic event that unfolded on the Quimera roller coaster. Buckle up and hold on tight as we uncover the infamous Quimera disaster and the death of Luis Macedo. On the 28th of September 2019, tragedy struck at La Feria Chapultepec Mágico in Mexico City, marking the worst chapter in its storied history. At approximately 1:10 p.m., the iconic Quimera roller coaster's wheel assembly detached from the track, causing it to smash into a support beam. What was meant to be a day of excitement for visitors quickly spiraled into chaos and sorrow in the blink of an eye, leaving 2 dead and more injured. Subsequent investigations revealed shocking neglect as the root cause, highlighting systemic failures that could have prevented the tragedy entirely. But what exactly happened that day? Let's talk about it. This is the infamous Quimera roller coaster disaster. La Feria Chapultepec Mágico was an amusement park located in Mexico City and has a rich history dating back several decades. It was originally opened in 1964 and quickly became a beloved entertainment destination for locals and tourists alike. Not only did the park gain popularity for its diverse range of rides, attractions, and entertainment offerings, it was also one of the first amusement parks built in Mexico, which added to its popularity. It was established in 1964, and the park initially operated under the management of the Mexican government. Over the following years, ownership changed hands multiple times, and the park would continue to expand and grow. Some of the rides included the Pepsi Tower, which towered over the park, and the Montana Rusa, one of the park's most iconic attractions, which was a classic wooden roller coaster filled with twists, turns, and drops. However, their most infamous ride was, of course, the Quimera roller coaster, which after a horrific event in 2019 would eventually be the park's downfall. The Quimera roller coaster was manufactured by German engineer Anton Schwarzkopf and was debuted in 1984 under the name Dreher-Looping. Dreher-Looping, translated to English, means triple loop, as Dreher-Looping was the first ever roller coaster to feature 3 vertical loops. The coaster was originally owned by showman Rudolf Barth, who sadly passed away in 2020. He was known throughout the 1980s for introducing different roller coasters to the world, and he toured the Dreher-Looping coaster around the German fair circuit for around 12 years. After this, the ride was sold to Sunway Lagoon in Malaysia and became their star attraction. Here, it was renamed the All-American Triple Loop, which is how it is known by most theme park enthusiasts today. It only stayed in Malaysia for 2 years before being relocated to Flamingo Land in the UK, and then finally making its way to La Feria in 2007, where it was renamed the Quimera. The ride was a steel looping coaster, which featured a curved hill followed by a tightly curved initial descent, swiftly transitioning into a sharp, twisting climb. Following this, 2 consecutive vertical loops occur, with the 3rd loop appearing later in the ride. Quimera would reach a height of 108 feet and would travel up to 53 miles per hour. The Quimera was one of the park's most popular rides and would be for the years it ran, but this would all change on September 28, 2019. On that day, the Quimera roller coaster was fully loaded and dispatched from the station at approximately 1:05 p.m. It had been working fine, and the riders were excited to finally get their turn on the ride. Through most of the ride, the train was operating okay, until it exited the 3rd loop towards the end. After exiting the loop, The train's right wheel assembly on the fifth train detached from the track. The train at this point was heading towards a corner, and then the fifth train's left wheel assembly detached. This caused the fifth car to fly off the track and smash into a support beam, which was found on the corner. Car 5, with the 4 people on board, was then sent plummeting to the ground, smashing into the concrete below. Although the safety restraint stayed on, the impact was so strong, it caused all of them to be thrown from the car. The rest of the roller coaster carried on, but soon came to a stop a bit further down the track. Emergency services rushed to the scene, where they found the car on the ground on its side, surrounded by bloodstains. Sadly, 2 out of the 4 passengers were killed. These were 24-year-old Luis Enrique Macedo and an 18-year-old male who was not named. The other 2 women in the car were sent to the hospital with serious injuries, but were okay. The ride was then closed down, and an investigation was opened immediately. A statement was released after the horror crash which said, "This is now in the hands of the prosecutor's office, who have already opened inquiries for an investigation into what happened, how it happened, who is responsible, and how to proceed moving forward." Government officials brought in well-respected international roller coaster groups to look at what happened. Experts from the specialty of forensic mechanics, criminology, photography, and chemistry were all brought in to help with the investigation. Their findings were revealed the month after, and they said that the main cause of the accident was the lack of corrective and preventive maintenance on the ride. They claimed that the ride was operating outside the regulations that were established in the manufacturer's manual. There were multiple safety concerns which included oil leaks, cracks, weakened seatbelts, and damages to the track. The train itself even had parts such as the wheel assembly from unbranded manufacturers. In other words, they were not made by Schwarzkopf. However, the main cause was the wheel assembly detaching from the track. The wheel assembly itself was attached by the 3 bolts, but the workers at La Feria had used the wrong bolts, which, when vibrated, eventually came off. A spokesman said, "The prevailing conditions caused the vibration in all the elements that make up the mechanical set, which caused the screws to come out of their position and caused the right truck, the holding element of the 5th car, to come off its axis." She went on to say, as the track changes angle of inclination and the 5th car no longer had the truck on the right side, the car derailed, remaining suspended in the air. The rest of the train stops and slides towards the lower part of the game, at which point the 5th car hits the structure that supports the track, causing it to completely detach from the train, rotating on its axis and remaining in the shape where it is located on the day of the incident. They concluded the investigation by charging the operators at the park and closing the ride down. The operators at La Feria were charged with various counts of homicide and negligence, and this court case is still ongoing today. Not much is known about the victims, but we do know that Luis Macedo was a university student and had recently finished studying a Bachelor of Business Relations at the National Polytechnic Institute. He and the other victim both died from traumatic head injuries. His girlfriend was also riding that day and was sent to the hospital with injuries, but she has since recovered. A year later, on October 13th, the authorities of the Mexican amusement park declared the park's closure indefinitely and revoked its operational license. In other words, the park was closed down and never reopened. The Quimera roller coaster, however, has been bought by the Indiana Beach theme park, and they plan to reopen it this year after a major refurbishment. This incident caused a massive decline in attendance for many theme parks across Mexico, and the industry there has never been the same since. This was an absolutely brutal disaster, and it could have been completely avoided with some basic maintenance. Thank you for the support on the most recent videos, and as always, Thank you for watching Horror Funk Town. Stay well, kiddies. See you on the next video.